Tyler Seguin and Nils Lundkvist make a huge impact in their return, and the Dallas Stars, fueled by a big second period, lead them past the Coyotes.
Your Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. It's a pleasure to be with you. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan and play-by-play voice of the Chippewa Steel. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. The Dallas Stars win convincingly last night over the Arizona Coyotes by a final score of 5-2, and welcome back Tyler Seguin. After missing nearly a month with a lower body injury, he jumps back in, and you would have not known it with the way he played last night, along with Nils Lundkvist, who makes an incredible statement for himself. How do you do? Nils Lundkvist, a big second period, leads the Dallas Stars past Arizona. I have some thoughts on Jake Oettinger later on in the episode as well today. A very, very great win for the Stars. They needed it. They're now 2-2 here in this homestand, and hopefully a win in a few days can have them over 500 during this 5-game little stretch. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. We begin with Tyler Seguin, who jumped right back into the lineup and immediately showed his value. As soon as he stepped on the sheet, Mason Marchment and Matt Duchene were back. They were back. And Tyler Seguin, from the jump, was getting phenomenal looks on the offensive end of the rink and just creating chances for himself and others. He gets right back on the score sheet after a filthy pass from Matt Duchene in the second period when the Stars scored within a span of 27 seconds. The first one from Jamie Benn, and then Tyler Seguin with his 21st of the season. Mason Marchment also picks up an assist on the Seguin goal, and that line looks to be the real deal once again. It is incredible and remarkable how one player can just change the dynamic of a certain line. Look at Tyler Seguin and look at Wyatt Johnston for that matter, or even Logan Stankoven. You could give a big part of the credit to the success of Jamie Benn and Wyatt Johnston. Stankoven gets back on the score sheet as well. He was on a bit of a schneid as he gets the first goal of the game for the Stars as they ripped off 5 straight. And they give up one in the third period, but they win convincingly over the Coyotes once again. And Seguin had his fingerprints all over this one. He ends up with the first star of the night. Great to have him back in the lineup, and he had some grade A looks in the first couple of periods that he did not capitalize on. And then, of course, he finally buries one right in the middle of the slot. Taking a look at some of his numbers in the game, Seguin ended up with 4 shots on goal. That was tied for a team high, along with Nils Lundkvist, who we're going to get into in just a moment. But he picks up the 1 goal, just played under 15 minutes, had some time on the power play, but just looked like he didn't miss a beat. You would have no idea that he almost missed a month of hockey. He jumps in, he wins faceoffs. Duchene and Marchment all of a sudden are buzzing once again. That whole line had chances out the wazoo. Can't believe Marchment didn't get one. And just a real strong effort from the forwards in general. And for the first time, you have the full complement of weapons, and this team is dangerous when fully healthy with the depth they have on offense. Look at Craig Smith. He's now scored in 3 straight games, picks up his 10th of the season, and the beat goes on for this offense. Oettinger did not have to be spectacular in the game. He was not asked to do a whole lot, which was great for himself and great for the Stars after some of the outings we've seen in this homestand in general. But the Stars end up outshooting Arizona 33-25 on the night. I mentioned the faceoffs. They were going to have a huge advantage. They win 56% of those, and they just were relentless on the forecheck. And the Coyotes played a really good first period. Give them credit for the first 20 minutes. They end up with a goal late from Clayton Keller. I mentioned him yesterday. He seems to always find a way to score against the Stars, but it was an offensive barrage from the Stars in the final 40 minutes, and they get the job done, along with Nils Lundkvist, who we have to shine some light on. What more do you want out of number 5, Pete DeBoer? What more do you want? We've been begging them to give Nils a chance. Give him a chance down the stretch in the final 15 games. Let him earn a spot come playoff time. And boom, he's an offensive asset right off the hop. Picks up a couple of helpers, a beautiful pass to set up the Jamie Benn goal in the second period. He also has his fingerprints on the 6-on-5 goal when the Stars were headed to the power play, but they pick it up on the delayed penalty. Stankoven ends up putting the rebound home for his 6th of the season, but Lundkvist with a couple of assists. He's mobile. He's making things happen. He's just facilitating because he can with his foot speed, something that Hakanpaa can't do. And he defended really strongly in the game, which is a big plus, hopefully, in the eyes of Pete DeBoer. And for a guy that had not played in about 14 days, it was like 13 days since he was back in the lineup, would not have known it either. So the two returners have ginormous impacts on the game, and Lundkvist probably played his best game of the season, and it was just a strong game in general. He took a puck in the chin late in the third period, and he never returned. So we'll keep an eye out on that. Hopefully he'll be okay, but he had a shot that he blocked, ramped up off his stick and into his chin area and went immediately down the tunnel. So hopefully he's okay, but he ends up playing just over 13 minutes on the night, a 64% Corsi for percentage at 5-on-5. He was all over the ice. He ends up with 4 shots on goal. One of the things he's really improved this year is his ability to get shots on net. He's very liberal with his shot selection. He just pumps it towards the cage and good things happen, like we saw last night. A great statement game for Nils Lundkvist. It's going to be hard to take him out of the lineup after what we just saw. On top of that, him and Suter just look really good together. The 2 goals the Stars gave up, the pairing that was on the ice was Harley and Heiskanen. They did not have their brightest moments on both of the goals that Arizona scored. The first was a defensive zone turnover from Harley that ended up leading to another turnover by Heiskanen, and it ended up in the back of their net. But they have one of the best expected goals against on the Stars of the defensive pairings this season with Nils and Suter. I've mentioned that here earlier this week on the case to get Lundkvist back in the lineup. And just a real solid game from him. A couple of helpers for Nils Lundkvist. Seguin returns with a goal and just looked phenomenal. Just another little nugget for you. Logan Stankoven with his 6th goal of the season now has 10 points in 12 games. He becomes the 3rd fastest player in North Stars history to record 10 NHL points. He trails just Mike Modano and Alex Chason, believe it or not. Modano did it in 9 games, and Chason did it in 10. So just a big night for the returners. And I go back to this quote from Pete DeBoer just a few days ago when he mentioned Nils has made big improvements this year. He's an offensive defenseman, but with the power play being grabbed by Thomas Harley and Miro Heiskanen, his role has been diminished. He's defending better, he said. I see improvements in all parts of his game. He's just got to keep working. He is working, and he proved it to you. He proved it to you last night. He deserves to be in the lineup from here on out. And if he looks out of place and out of sorts come playoff time, you can always go back to Hakanpaa. Hakanpaa's game does not add anything to the Dallas Stars at this point in their current structure, besides maybe some physicality and just having a big guy on the ice for the sake of having a big body. Nils provides another layer to your offensive attack and something, frankly, the Stars do not have on the back end, and is a lot of foot speed besides Harley and Heiskanen. Tanev and Lindell are not the most mobile, but they get away with it because Tanev is mobile enough to complement Lindell, who's having a really good year when he's not with Jani Hakanpaa. And then Suter, you pair him with Lundkvist, and they complement each other. And we've seen it for games now. And it's not like a small sample size, over 20 games together. So just a great night, all things told. Would love to see the game scores from the night, but Hockey Stats Cards is a little bit funky tonight. So maybe that will update here in just a moment. But Tyler Seguin looks great in his return. So does Nils Lundkvist, even though he wasn't hurt, but he has been healthy scratch recently. And the Stars get another, another big second period to fuel them past the Coyotes. Let's talk a bit about the second period. And in general, the middle frame this season has been very kind to the Dallas Stars, and we'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is obsessed with finding ways to help you save money on tickets. You want to go to opening day for the Texas Rangers, you want to go to that next Stars game, or want to see that stand-up comic you've always wanted to see, or a play, you name it, Game Time has it, and you can get tickets and have complete peace of mind with your purchase. You can see the view from your seat before you buy the ticket, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. We've all bought tickets to a new arena or new building we've never gone to, and then you show up, there's a beam, there's a piece of glass. I wouldn't have bought these seats if I had known that. Game Time takes all the pressure off, and as I said, they're obsessed with finding you ways to help save you money on tickets. Exclusive flash deals. They have sponsored deals with zone deals. You can pick the section, and Game Time picks the seats for big time savings. If you find tickets, by the way, in the same section or row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Download the Game Time app. It takes 30 seconds. Create an account. Use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem code LOCKEDON. That's Locked On for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So the Stars are now 2-2 during this 5-game homestand, and you can't help but look back and feel a bit disappointed with what this homestand could have been, with the collapse against Florida in the third period. New Jersey just wasn't a great game in general, so you can't make the argument they should have won that game. They were out to lunch for that one, but they get the job done here recently, and a nice 5-2 win over the Coyotes. Hey, be sure to check out Locked On Sports today, Stars fans. If you're tired of watching Fox Sports or ESPN, when they just scream and shout at each other all the time. Locked On Sports Today brings you all the analysis, the opinions that you're accustomed to hearing, but without all the shouting, and it's a lot more laid back, and frankly, it's just better. Stream it 24/7 as well. It's on YouTube. It's on free Amazon Fire TV channels app. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Subscribe to that. Subscribe to Locked On Stars. Hit that notification bell. Never miss an episode. So another big second period for the Stars. They end up scoring 3 times within 10 minutes, and Ben and Seguin's goal came just 27 seconds apart, or not 27, about 28 seconds apart. And Jamie Benn, I mean, the beat goes on for him too. We talked about him yesterday. For all you everydayers out there, you heard me talk about the month that Ben was having. Now he has 11 points, 4 goals, and continues to be to just be a presence, up and down the lineup. So good to see him get back on the score sheet once again. And we look at the second periods, and Bally brought this up. They had a plus 14 goal differential in the middle frame this season, which is one of the best in the National Hockey League. And then they add 3 to that number. They've now scored a total of 97 goals in the second period, which is second most. They've actually outscored their opponents in the third period now 98-66, or make it 99-66, with the 2 from last night. So they are able to score a ton down the stretch, and the first period hasn't been as kind, so to speak, this season. And those numbers are a bit weird too, because the Stars have struggled to close out games. I think that number's a bit inflated in the third, because they have just ran some teams out of the building. They've scored 8 plus or 7 plus almost 4 times this year. And they've done a lot of their damage in the second period, and they've added on some tallies and some blowouts, some garbage time goals in the third period. But the second and third periods, they're quietly approaching 100 goals in those 2 frames this season. They outshoot their opponents coming into the game last night 904 to 838 in the second period. That's their largest differential in a shots by period. So it's obviously causation to correlation to some degree. They end up outshooting Arizona 13-6 in that second period, and just jumped all over them. They were hungrier. They also benefited from some very, very suspect puck management from the Coyotes, but they capitalized on it too. Ingram played a heck of a first period. He was strong. He's been phenomenal this season, but the Stars got to him in the second period. Arizona ends up with 5 giveaways on the night. The Stars ended up with 8. So don't know if that's a correct number, but I think giveaways and takeaways are sometimes very, very subjective. But the Stars certainly capitalized on another big second period, and it's been a frame that's treated them very, very kindly this season. Taking a look at some of the analytic numbers, 64% was the Corsi number. They end up with 4 high danger chances, which was their most in a period. They end up with 9 just scoring chances in general. And that was just at 5-on-5. So they dominated the puck. They breezed through center. It was quick. It was fast paced. Not a game I think the Stars typically thrive in. And typically this season, I would say, I think they don't necessarily thrive in a chaotic type of game where there's not a ton of whistles, because I feel like they can get out of sorts. But with a full complement of their lineup and the defense having an effort in their past 2 games, like we've seen, they can play that style of hockey more often if they're more connected defensively. I have no worries about their offense. Their offense can score with the best in the business. That I don't worry or am concerned about them keeping pace. It's the defensive side of the puck when they can get scrambling and chasing around, and they give up some grade A looks and odd man rushes. But that hasn't necessarily been the case here in the past 2 games. And hopefully this is a trend and not just anecdotal, right? And we see a bit more of that, because I'm hesitant to come on here and be like, oh yeah, this team's going to turn it around and this is the team that we're going to see from here on out, because we've learned through 70 games now this season, it can be a roller coaster, and sometimes you don't know what you're going to get during a stretch. But the last 2 have been encouraging. They now have 93 points. They're tied for first in the Central Division. They don't have games in hand, but they do have a pretty easy schedule moving forward. Now, 4 out of their next 5 are against non-playoff teams, and they have to win those games. They have to, if they want to have a crack at winning the Central Division. They do play Winnipeg in the second to last game of the season, so they do have a head-to-head matchup there. But Winnipeg and Colorado are just seem like they're going to win games. You can't bet on them losing if you still want to have a chance to win the division. So yeah, they're still in the hunt, and you just got to find ways to win. And they did last night. A real solid game, just up and down the lineup, man. Their depth is something else. Their depth is something else. And when their fourth line is chipping in like they are, yeah, they're going to be tough to beat. They absolutely will. Okay, let's jump into some Jake Oettinger stuff, because they didn't ask him to do a whole lot. Looked good at certain parts, but I just have some overall thoughts in the game, and you can call me crazy if I'm off here. You can more than welcome to go in the comments and tell me to hush up, and we'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is also brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience, that's what brings home the winning trophy, and is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. So Jake Oettinger ends up making 23 saves on 25 shots last night. Had a couple of big stops at certain points in the game, but in general, the Stars did not make him work all that hard in the game, which is a good sign. They need to do that a bit more often. Expected goals against was just 1.74, made 4 high danger saves on the night, which is a good sign, but for my taste, just looked a bit shaky in some spots. And a win's a win, of course, but man, he had some particular saves where he's just off, right? And I don't necessarily know how to explain it the best, but there was a stop in the second period where he's really deep in his crease. Then even the goal that Keller scored, he was like angled out to a weird angle or weird side, and Keller beat him 5-hole. And then the goal in the third period, he was just a bit deep in his crease, and he just looks a bit out of sorts. And even when he's making saves, it's just not the calmness and with relative ease that we've seen in years past. It's almost like he's thinking about it, right? He's thinking really hard about making the save and almost not reacting. I don't know. Maybe I'm completely off on this assessment, and I don't want to come on here and just signal the alarms just to do it, because it was a good night. I mean, 23 saves. And uh, look, Oettinger is not going to have to be some sort of hero every night if the defensive effort is what we get uh, from the Stars more often than not, like we saw last night. If we get more of that, that's better moving forward in general for the Stars. But it would be nice to feel really confident and solid about Jake Oettinger in nets, where even if he's not facing the quality chances, that if you do break down, he's going to make the save. And he made a couple of big time stops at some key moments in the game. There was one early in the third period when he got a save, and the Stars end up scoring a couple of times, which of course ended up closing it out. But I don't know. It's not 100% all there for me. It just looks a bit shaky, and yeah, I don't know. Share your thoughts with me on what you thought, because yeah, it just looked odd in some certain saves for Mr. Ottinger last night. But look, that's the way it goes, and you're going to have those every once in a while. By the way, congratulations, Scott Wedgwood. Had a baby last night, so very very happy for Wedgwood. That was the reason Matt Murray was recalled, and he backed out. He backed up last night. So congratulations to Scott Wedgwood. Hopefully everything is going well for him. But Ottinger gets the win, and all things told, can't go wrong with another win. But just the eye test isn't doing it for me after last night's game. So yeah, that's all I got to say on the matter. I don't want to come on here and just go on a random rampage on Ottinger, but just a bit weird, if you ask me. Lundkvist, again, a huge night. Seguin with a huge night as well. No real update on Lundkvist as we speak after he took that puck up high and went down the tunnel. So we'll see what comes out of that tomorrow. I'm sure we will know more as the week goes on. But awesome game for the Stars. They take down the Coyotes by a final score of 5-2. They've now won a couple in a row, and they will wrap up the homestand on Friday night against the Pittsburgh Penguins. So the Penguins coming to town, a team that is out of the playoff race, unfortunately, but they still have Sidney Crosby, and they got some talent on that roster. Stars took the first meeting, which was back in October. Woo, that was a long time ago. We played almost a full season since then, but they took down the Penguins 4-1. So we'll touch on that game tomorrow, and we'll go from there. What a week so far. What a week so far for the Dallas Stars. 5-2 win. Nils and Seguin with huge impacts in their return. Have a great Thursday, Stars fans. Just one more work day tomorrow. Grind it out, get through it, and the weekend is here. Have a great rest of your day, and we will see you tomorrow. So long, Stars fans.